All right. Think we might be live. So let's start a poll. What do you guys think? You like polls? Let's ask um, how is the video quality of this live stream? Excellent, good, fair, poor. Let's start that poll. Hey, hey, hey. Welcome, everybody. And all right. We've got a lot of fun planned. So I've got some wood, and my wife and I teach the 10-year-olds in Sunday school at church. And this week our lesson is about Noah's Ark. I thought, why not make some arks for the kids? What could go wrong, right? So I'm just going to make a pretty simple design, and hopefully it works really well. So let me show you my idea here. So I want to avoid the knot here, and I'll probably need more than this chunk, but I've got lots more where this came from. But let me just pull out a little ruler. So let's see, we'll go to about 1.5 inches down. Was that 1.5 inches? Yeah. 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. And we'll go do something like that. And you know what I should have, instead of just a ruler, I think I'm going to grab something that'll give me a little bit more likelihood of being square. Can you hear me now? Sorry about that. Here, let me switch to the other microphone because maybe the microphone died on this one. Um, yeah, can you hear me now? Let's see. Okay. Hopefully you can actually hear me now. And I'm going to set this guy to charge in the meantime, just in case it needs it. There we go. All right. All right, here we go. All right, so I'm going to have to raise this up in order. So if I want each of them to have one from this block, I'm going to need to cut these pretty thin because I think we're expecting around 7 or 8 kids on Sunday. Well, tomorrow, I guess. So at 3.5-ish inches wide, yeah, 3.5. Claiming that YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Are you guys experiencing that? Let's see. It looks like it's frozen, but that's not frozen. So, okay, looks fine now. And that seems like it's working. All right, well, you can hear me? Oh, good. Excellent, Miss Heather. Thanks for being here. So, how thin should I cut this? Should I make it so that each kid can get one from this, or should I make them thicker and then have to cut out another one of these? What do you think? It's a little Noah's Ark. Not the greatest little Noah's Ark, but the Noah's Ark nonetheless. So this guy's about 3.5 inches wide. So if I want to get 8 of them out of here, I'd have to go, let's see, if I went 1/2 inch, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'd be short of 7 because of my kerf. If I go 1/4 inch, then that should be more than enough. I'm going to go 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, let me move this out of the way, and 3/8, and let me find some clamps. Hello, Manchester, UK. Hey, thanks for being here, T-Controller, all the way from the UK. I am in the United States, in the great state of Idaho. So thank you for being here. UK in the house. All right. Oh, it's cute, thick enough they can't snap them. I know the age. Oh, the kids are like 10 years old. So if they really wanted to, they could probably snap them. But so yeah, I'm just going to cut out each of these. And I've got a bunch of cleanup to do because, this isn't even. So I'll need to sand a bunch of this, and I'm not sure how much I will actually sand. We'll just try and make it safe for the kids and their siblings. And let me find a push stick here that I can utilize. Let's see, I'll just use some scrap. There's like that should work. There you go. This is a cherry offcut, so we'll just use that. So I want to have contact on the base all the way through the cut. So I might try to move it a little bit, well, maybe not move it, maybe I'll just try to run it through like this. And hopefully that works well. See, it's good they will hear the story of Noah. Yeah, why not? All right, you guys have a good view of that? Let me show you from right here. Actually, let's see if I see how that does. Let me know if you want a different angle. All right, let's try it. Actually, I raised up the blade guard because my fence won't let it go down as low as I'd like. But I'm just going to lower it so that it is as close to the workpiece as I can go without causing other issues. All right, here we go. Oh, forget for not having it all the way secure. Speaking of all the way secure, maybe I should put the brakes on here. Or just keep going. Yep. Yep, it was unsupported, so it grabbed it and pulled it down. Let's see. So we've got 4 so far. All right. Let me see if we can do that better this time. That seems to be a little better. Getting a little too close to the blade for my comfort there. Let me see if let me see what I can use. Might be able to just use this guy. Let's try him. That should be able to give me some decent control. All right. Let's go. All right. So, got 9 little arcs. That should be enough, even if we have a visitor or two. All right. So, what's going to be the best way to sand this stuff? What do you think? EA safety, yeah. And cherry wood. Yeah, it looks like this is one of the pieces that I did some epoxy work on. I don't know if you can see the shininess on there. And some of the gaps on the cherry wood I filled in with epoxy. But that cherry wood is now way up here. And then a bunch of the stuff that I haven't milled up yet is back behind. I don't know how well you can see that. All right. So I think I want to try using the belt sander. So let me get that out. Belt sander is out. And wonder if I need that. Whatever. I was thinking the other day that I could use the disc sander here for sharpening some of my tools faster and easier than like the diamond plate that I use now. And so I dialed in this plate really well. You get it nice and square, both square to the disc, but then also square or parallel to the surface below. And I was making a little jig that I could use to lock in like a 25% angle or a 30% angle for like chisels or plane blades. I was like, oh, this is going to be so great. But then I thought, you know what, I should test this and just see how much wiggle I have on the disc. And I also need to get some sanding discs for it. But anyway, yeah, so I just tested it to see how much vibration there was, and there was a lot. So, hey, Tim, thanks for being here. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And, okay, I'm going to angle this a little this way, angle this a little that way. All right. And let me get my vacuum attachment. And come through here. Connect my vacuum to there. It actually works a lot better than I expected when I first got this. So, yes, good morning, everyone, says Tim. Good morning, everyone. All right. Try this out. So, I'm not sure yet how I'm going to get in here, there, and trying to clean these guys up so that they're more even. But you can definitely get these exterior surfaces with the belt sander. So I think that's what I'm going to try. So let's get the vacuum on and get to sanding. guess that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That guy's a little more thin than I wanted to be putting my fingers against. So kind of got stuck on the belt sander that way, so this is getting sanded and this is not. I might not worry about him. And I'm going to refresh my belt sander a little here. I'm not sure how much good it'll do, but can't hurt. Hey, Mike, thanks for being here. Hey, Bug, good to see you. Good, just a quick pop in and like. Appreciate it. Enjoy the band sawing, or not the band sawing, the belt sanding. Those are looking pretty good, I think. Let's see. Have to get moving on the day. Hope you have a great one. Hey, thanks for being here, Mike. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I'm gonna unplug the belt sander for now. And going to hopefully find a good way to sand those guys. Let's see. I've got a piece of wood that just happens to fit in there. I'll just grab a few different things here. That is way too wide. That, ooh, that fits. That is too wide. Okay. So, and it's already got a little bit of a handle here. So that's convenient. So, I think I'm going to just grab some sandpaper, wrap it over the top of this guy, and then sand away. So let's see how well that works. I'm going to have to move this to get to the sandpaper stores. Storage for the sandpaper. And I think I want to try a sheet of, what do I have? I've got 100 grit and a bunch of other stuff. So I think I'll just try some 100 grit to start. And oh, looks like I only have a sheet or two of 100 grit left. So 100, is that the same as 100 grit? 332U, this is 332U, interesting. See what else I've got in here, just to be sure. 400, 100, let's just use that. And don't need a lot of it. That's probably plenty right there. If I wrap it like that, into and of course I slid as I did that. Well, I did not go nearly deep enough on that. I'm going to come through from the other side because I'm right-handed and I think that'll work better. Close enough, right? Okay. 1, 2, give or take thirds. All right, let's start with that. And oh, you know what? I didn't really think about how deep that needs to be. That should work. But I should have cut these longer so that I had more room to work with. All right. Let's see if taping this on with some painter's tape is going to be good enough. All right, let's see if that even has the coverage we need. Sorry, that I need. It's getting there. Yeah, I'm going to use a bigger piece. Yeah, I think I'll just use that whole thing. right. Let's see if that works better. Takes me a bit of few strokes to be able to even get all the way in. But once in, it's pretty easy to that's not too terrible. The roof here is still lopsided to one side, but I'm not going to worry about that really. Actually, let me lower this guy down a little bit. I feel like I was a lot smoother with my right hand than I am with my left. But I'm not sure who to blame for that. My sandpaper might be getting a little too clogged to do much good. I might need to switch it out or flip it around or something. Hi, I don't know how to pronounce that name, but thank you for joining us. What language is that? Or maybe you're a regular and I'm just not recognizing what you're putting there. Some foreign characters to my eyes. Lovely, making an ark for the children. Yeah, thank you. Figure it helps them to focus a little bit more on the content of the lesson when they've got some sort of object they can reference and think about. I'm going to adjust the position of my sandpaper. And or maybe I'll just get some new sandpaper. Yeah, I'll just get some new stuff. All right. Be fair, Noah is one of my favorite stories because he saved the animals. Ah, okay. We've got an animal lovers on our hands. I am not a huge animal fan, um, but my daughters are. And my son too, actually, now that I think about it. They've always been disappointed that we don't keep pets, but we've got some medical stuff at our house, so we want to make sure to keep things as clean and sterile as we can. Okay, this is my last one for this process anyway. Okay. Got lots of arcs. Hopefully it's enough for everyone that it shows up. Let's see. I've been to the Ark Encounter in Kentucky. No, I have not. I have been to Kentucky, but only briefly, about over 10 years ago, 10 and a half years ago, give or take. And I understand I'm allergic to hay and worked on a horse farm in my teenage years. Took a few asthma attacks to find out what was triggering it. Yeah. My parents told me I was allergic to animal fur when I was young, and so I was always kind of scared to be around animals. And I think in the end I'm not really allergic, but I think my dad was very allergic, and so I think they just assumed that I inherited his allergy. But as far as I know, I didn't. I don't know of any allergic reaction I've ever had to animal fur. But maybe I did have a big reaction, and they were just protecting me, and maybe I outgrew it. Hard to know for sure, but I think in large part because of that supposed allergy, I never really got close to animals and never really developed a desire to be around animals. So that's what I blame it on anyway. All right, let's vacuum this stuff up. So I need to extract my vacuum hose from the belt sander. And turn it on. Hey Roger, thanks for being here. Love the Arks, great idea, and the children would love it. Yeah, I hope so. Hope so. You know, sometimes you think kids will like something and they gravitate toward the empty cardboard box instead of whatever you spent tons of money on, or tons of time on in this case. Although to be fair, it's not really that much time that I'm spending on this project. Put a lot more time into other projects for the Sunday school kids before. So the only other thing is I feel like I probably should soften all of these edges and corners, but I also don't want to. So I could just use a hand sander to kind of soften things up a little bit to the extent possible. What do you guys think? Is that necessary? Hey Amy, how's it going? Thanks for being here. Hey Delan. You know what? I think I can safely remove my ear protection now that I don't have any machines running. So let's see. I've got it's 120 grit. Well, I think I will just run 120 grit over these guys a little bit. Whoa, as I drop things. All right. So I'm just going to give a slight chamfer / round over / whatever. Just kind of break the edges on those so they're not quite so dangerous for the 10-year-olds. and try to just make them more dangerous for the adults. I'll try to give them a little bit more smooth feel. Ah. Ah. Let's see. Oh, Sophia's here. Let me back up here so I can see who all's in the chat, catch up on things. Okay, so we've got Ben and Amy, Raja, and Raja, and the name I can't text. Yeah, yeah. I wish I knew how to pronounce your name. Um, oh, it's Hippie Sophia. Oh, okay. Changed my name to Greek and cannot change it back for another week yet. Oh, okay. Well, Sophia, thanks for being here. All right. What a pretty name. Yep. Thank you, Tim. All right. A pretty name for a pretty girl. And making a Welsh lady blush. Hey, whatever it takes. So, what's everyone got planned for the day? Anything fun? Anyone else making Noah's Arks for Sunday school kids? Um, let's see. Just a thought. What about making a hole and adding some twine so they can be hung up? Ooh. Um, that would require more effort. So I think I've got some twine somewhere. And if I don't have twine, probably my wife does somewhere. Um, the other thing, though, is that let's say I put a hole in it and hang them up. Um, arcs aren't actually supposed to float in the air. They're supposed to float in the water. So hanging them up, I'm not sure that that's really how they're supposed to work. Taxes. Intriguing. Wish my shop was warm enough to build stuff right now. Yeah, yeah. This my shop is just in my garage, and it must be pretty well insulated. But also, I've got the water heater and the furnace out here, and so whenever they start burning some fuel, it heats up everything out here. So it's uh, it's right around 60 degrees in the shop. So I was in here earlier without any, just in sweatpants and and a t-shirt. But I started getting a little cold, so I put on a hoodie. But yeah, it's really nice in here right now with my hoodie and everything. I'm quite comfortable. Do you have a garage shop, Tim, or what's your setup like? Let's see. Not unmanning. Western cedar, by the way. The wood in your spoon. Thanks for sharing. I was wondering about that. Also, what resin do you use? Do you have a particular resin that you'd use for everything, or do you use different resins for different purposes? I know if you're doing like a deep pour, you want a different kind of resin than if you're just covering your countertops. But the only resin I've really used for anything is for countertops because we ripped out the island that we had in our kitchen. Well, part of the island anyway, because it was a terrible design. And so we had to replace the countertop, and it was a lot less expensive for us to do it with epoxy by ourselves versus paying someone to come in and put granite or something in. Well, those are not perfect, but I'm not getting paid for perfect either. Both spoons I made were Western cedar, different resins, Nick Pro, Bond Crafter, G-Diction, Lux Resin, all over the place. All one-to-one resins, but all the companies have the deep power and all different kinds. Okay. All right. So, screen up. as I was vacuuming them off, I noticed that my sanding in here wasn't nearly as nice as I was hoping. You can see, like back in there, I've got some bandsaw, some deep bandsaw marks, and a little bit in here. Um, there was a nail or screw or something in there that's causing that mark, and then same kind of issue right there and there. But some of these are better than others. But as my granddaddy used to say, good enough for who it's for. So, and you may have noticed as I was vacuuming that I was trying not to actually contact the workpiece with my vacuum hose, because I don't want to I don't want to scrape it up with the hose. So usually I've got like a finger that's kind of protecting the workpiece as I vacuum that off. So FYI, just in case anyone was wondering. Let's see what else we got here. Have the deep power, deep pour you meant, okay. Let's see. Nice, Amy. I need to get some Western Red Cedar just to try it. Amy loves the stuff. Lotto, are you making anything to go with those arcs? No, I'm pretty boring. I was looking online at some ideas for designs, and there were some pretty elaborate designs. But if I were only doing one, then maybe I would have tried to do some of that. But my intent was to have one to distribute to each of the kids that are there, and so I didn't want to make 8 or 10 of the really involved patterns. And a lot of those sets had an elaborate arc, but then also a bunch of animals and stuff, and those seemed fun. I think the Sunday school kids would like that, but I'm way too lazy for that. So that's not going to happen. All right, let's see what else we got here. I think that's what I made my heart out of too. Oh, cool. You made your heart out of the Western Red Cedar. And let's see. I like the pattern. Cool, Amy. Love Noah's Ark. Thank you. Really cool. Awesome. I've been to the Ark encounter twice. Still see different things each time. Cool. I'd love to go see that. Now, Tim, are you in or near Kentucky? I am not particularly close, so not worrying about getting over there for that. How about you, Amy? I think, are you in Michigan? Am I thinking right? Am I remembering correctly? Let's see. I think it is worth it. Yes, Michigan, or are you answering yes to something else? I think it's worth it. Yeah, and Tim, where are you at? How close are you to Kentucky? 2 hours away. Okay. 2 hours away from the encounter, or 2 hours away from Kentucky? How do you like the sandpaper? in Dayton. Okay, I've heard of Dayton. I don't think I've ever been there though. Are you a fan of Dayton University, or do you follow sports at all? They've been pretty good in basketball over the years. 2 hours from the encounter. Cool. So um, let's see. I should position myself a little bit more over here so that I'm not blocking the Pelado sign that my wife made me for Christmas a couple Christmases ago. Of course, there's another sign there too. Can you guys make out what it says? My wife also made that sign. She, we had a competition because I was making signs for the kids in our Sunday school class, and the signs just had their names on it. And one of the signs I made, I was showing her afterwards, and at first she was like, "Oh, that's really nice," and then I was showing her some of the errors that I made on it, and she's like, "Oh, well, can you redo this?" And I was like, "No, no, I can't," because the bit that I used, I freehanded it on the router. And let me see if I still have the bit in the router. Yep, I do. So I used a V bit. You can hopefully make that out. And so, it comes to that point, and if you try going over something a second time, you're unlikely to get your groove right in the exact same place as you did before. And if you don't want it in the same place, if you want it somewhere else, then you're widening the path and you're making it usually it doesn't look any better by going over it a second time. So anyway, she was wanting me to go over it a second time and correct my errors, and I said, no, it's done. We're not doing it again. And so within that next week, she thought, well, actually that night, she asked me how I did it, and I kind of showed her the technique. She's like, "Oh, that doesn't look that hard." I was like, "Okay." So we actually had a competition on a live stream, and we were both supposed to make a name sign saying Smith, and I followed the instructions, and she did not. And we had people vote on who they thought should be the winner, and she was leading right up until we closed the poll, and so I snuck out a victory right at the end. But it wasn't fair because she cheated. So anyway, yeah, fancy sandpaper. Yeah, it's the 3M Cubitron, which is some pretty nice stuff, and it's got the mesh, so it works really well with my random orbital sander. It doesn't work as well for dust extraction when I don't have a vacuum connected, sucking all the dust through the paper. But this stuff, in all the tests that I've seen done on various YouTube channels and stuff, this stuff lasts longer than pretty much anything else. It's a little pricier per sanding disc than some of the alternatives, but when you consider how much longer it lasts, it actually ends up being less expensive. So, and I'm a sucker for a bargain. Let's see. Yeah, you remember the video, Tim? Okay. Hey, Billy, thanks for being here. And so I'm getting close to closing up, but actually, there's one other thing. So So just so you can see, here's the Arks that I made for the kids in Sunday school. They're like 10 years old. So I'm going to be talking about Noah's Ark this week. So I thought, hey, why don't I make them some Arks? And might have them like decorate them or something. Get them some crayons and they can color them. I did that previously. I don't remember what the wooden item was that I provided, but I I talked to them about protecting wood from water. Like one of the ways that you can do that is with wax, and so I gave them crayons, and so they were protecting their wooden item with wax. So kept them nice and occupied, and while we covered the lesson that day. So anyway, Arks. And yeah, and then the other thing that I was going to do, so I made this on a live stream the other day. Let me put the sandpaper stuff away and shove that in. And then my sanding belts that go on top. And no wonder that was rocking earlier. I had that underneath. So I made this for my daughter a few weeks ago. She wanted me to make her something out of cherry wood because she liked the smell of cherry wood. So I made this, pretty quickly, and then put a coat of lacquer on it. And I realized after the fact that was really stupid because she wanted the smell of cherry wood, and I gave her the smell of lacquer. But anyway, I was talking to her about it recently, and she said that she'd like some way to make it stand up. So I'm just going to see what I can do about making a little stand for it. Tim, you like the cleat wall? Oh, thanks. Yeah, so I built this whole setup. When we first moved in, we had a workbench. I was really excited about it. There was a workbench in the corner here, and then I had a bunch of pegboard on the walls. And what I realized after a while is that really sucked, and so I ended up removing all the pegboard and ripping out the workbenches. And part of the reason for ripping out the workbench was that basically it was just plywood on top of 2x4s. So, there wasn't a lot of support or anything. And I wanted to be able to put a vise and other things on the workbench, and it just wasn't going to happen with the workbench as it was. So I ripped it apart, and I actually reused the plywood. So the plywood on this workbench is what was on the workbench before. That 2x4 was actually one of the 2x4s in use before. But then I made this out of 2x3s that I ripped out of 2x6s that I got for free on Facebook Marketplace from some guy who was getting rid of his deck. So you can see the vertical supports in the corner, and over here are 2x6s. If I can give you a good enough angle there, you probably can't really even see it there. But anyway, the vertical supports in the corners are 2x6s, and then I just have I have it screwed into the studs in the walls, and then the single 2x4 support in the middle here. So after building this out, then I built my shelf up here, the big shelf, and then I put in my cleat wall. And I was intending actually to do a lot more cleat storage. And then my wife gave me this sign for Christmas last year, and there wasn't really a good place to put it anywhere else. So it's like it's too wide to fit on. I don't know if you can see position up there. Yeah, it's too wide to fit on the edge of the shelf. I was thinking about putting it over there, but it kind of wouldn't really be in the shot when I'm recording. So initially I had it up here, changed it around somewhat recently and put it over here. But it's so big that I can't really put any other cleat stuff around it. I've thought about modifying it, maybe putting it on a smaller background. Just get because I've got wood, right? Just get something that's a little more compact. Paint it black, and then put the Pilato letters on that smaller black background, and then I might be able to fit it up here, or in a different spot where it's not taking up as much room, and then I can utilize more of the French cleat wall for French cleats. But yeah, I've got a video out there a while ago for shop tour, and actually that was my first. That was the first live stream that I ever did, was a shop tour. Part of the reason I selected that for my first live was because I wasn't confident that I would have anybody show up in the chat, and so it's like I want to make sure that I've got some kind of content that I can keep talking without having to have any input from chat. And so it's like I could talk for a long time about my shop. So I did, and then I made a video, took the live footage and converted it to a long form video. So a little bit more edited version if you're not interested in the full experience. Let's see. Have to run for now. Okay. Thanks for being here, Amy. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoy your Saturday. Yeah, blessings. Take care. Yep. Have a great day. Agree. You too, Amy. Have a great day. And again, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. And thanks for letting me know about your Western red cedar usage. All right. So a stand. I was going to make a stand for this. So, is Kevin Ellis in the house? Hey, Kevin. Good to see you. All right. So I think I should make it out of cherry. And got some cherry right here. I don't think that's going to be enough to work with. I mean, maybe I could shave off enough to, well, maybe. But let me get a little bit more substantial chunk, because I've got a bunch of this stuff that's just the offcuts from ripping the cherry boards that I was talking about earlier that are now up here. Let me give you another look just in case you all weren't here when I showed everybody before. So that's some cherry wood that I ripped, or that I milled from someone who was getting rid of some cherry wood, some cherry branches and stuff. And then the stuff back there is stuff that's a little bit more difficult to mill. So it's in its more raw form right now. So let me see what else I've got that might work well for this. I've got a little bucket full of these offcuts. Let's see, what about this guy? That might work. What him? Looks like it could be somewhat substantial. Ooh, that seems promising. All right, so yeah, I think that guy could work pretty well. I mean, burned pretty well when I ripped him. But yeah, that should be plenty of material right there. Hopefully you guys can see, but um, I could remove the bark here and clean that up. Put a little dado in the middle, and then just set that guy in there as my dado. Set that guy in the dado. All right, let me. Why don't I just get started on this guy? See, that's some nice looking grain right there. Not as much there. Then that's a little chipped out. But on that bottom side, it's kind of nice. All right. All right, how do I want to do this? I think I want to use the crosscut sled on the table saw. Do that. I've got all these bandsaw offcuts from earlier. Try not to trip on those. And plug in the old table saw here. There we go. And get this guy. Right about there is where I would need to cut. Before I do that, I'm going to want some ear protection and some eye protection. And need to adjust the blade height. I like for the blade to be just high enough to so that it clears the carbide teeth. So the carbide teeth are just a touch higher than the workpiece. There we go. Just make sure I'm making this wide enough and not too wide. Okay, that should give me just a little bit of excess. I could trip on it and make it a comedy show. I could, and I still might. Okay. Now, I might just run this through. I don't want to do it on here. I don't think I have enough material to do it safely here. I mean, I could rip it on the table saw, but I think I'd rather do it on the bandsaw. I'm going to unplug the table saw and move it out of the way. Part of the reason why I'd rather do it on the bandsaw is because my table saw is not particularly what I'm looking for. Not particularly flat on the bed. So, all right, let's see. I can make this a little wider. Let's do that. Now the bandsaw typically leaves more of a mark on the workpiece than the table saw, although, you know, the table saw left a fair mark there. But I'm hopeful if I feed it through at an appropriate rate, that it'll do okay. Oh, of course I pushed the wrong thing on that clamp. All right. And let me get the vacuum reconnected. All right. And get my cherry push stick to push through the cherry. And as usual, I forgot to plug the bandsaw back in. Yeah, it's a pretty rough cut. But let's clean it up on the belt sander that I still have out. Doo-doo-doo. Ah, a little too violent there. All right. Let's see. right. And here we go. That should work. All right. Tim needs to get busy with stuff. Taxes. Blessings to you and yours and to the chat. Hey, thanks, Tim. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. If you need help with your taxes, let me know. All right. So I'm going to cut a dado in there somehow. Whoa. My stack of tape just fell over. So I think I'll do something there. That could be good. If I do it about halfway through there, that guy could fit in there. So let's try it. Of course, now I'm going to be doing the dado on the table saw that I didn't want to use for a rip cut earlier. So hopefully this doesn't come back to bite me very bad. Right around there. This is probably stupid. Oh, as is not supporting the tripod properly. Okay. I'm actually going to scoot this over more. And Plug this guy in. Get my protection in place. Remove these clamps so that I stop bumping into it. And use the Grabber Pro that on a recent live I had issues with. All right, let's try it. Let's not try it because I didn't actually lock down the fence. Let me see just how wide this guy is. I think he's wider than the table saw blade. Yep, a little bit. So I think I'll run him once and then turn him around and run him again, and hopefully that gets me wide enough. All right, let's see if that works. That might be too wide now. Oh, still not wide enough on that end. It is a little bit wide enough on this end. And I've got a little bit of a bow to this little board. So if I want to fit it in there, nice to know that it will actually work as a stand, even when the piece is not fully supported. So I could widen it a touch, or try to jam it in there and risk breaking it. Try it. Apparently that didn't do much. I'm just trying to sneak up on the right width here. Now the other thing I could do is sand this away a little bit, and maybe that's more reasonable to do, especially since I'm going to need to remove the lacquer if I want this to really adhere to the glue. So, and plus it's got a little bit of a bow in it. So if I make this wide enough to fit, then this is going to have, it's, you know, the bow is going to fit in there too. So if I sand this away, then that helps me reduce the amount of the bow. That's really close right there, but it will go in on the opposite side. Yeah, I don't want to force it and crack this. So let's try using the belt sander on this guy for a little bit. Let's see if that helps or destroys things. All right, so that's what it looks like right now. So I've got a bow going that way. So I think I'm going to sand mostly this side down, and just a tiny lip there so that it's enough to fit in. So let's see if I can do this right. Seems like the belt sander wanted to walk away from me. All right. So that fits in now. I sanded a little too high on this side. And I've got a little bit excess right there. Actually, that's a lot more than I was expecting. I thought it'd be maybe half that. So I'm going to do a little bit of sanding on this guy. I think that should work. All right. Let's glue that up. Oh, maybe it won't stand. Okay, maybe it will. All right. So I'm just going to use some Light Bond Original. Go. And got to get some nice glue coverage there. I was probably used way more glue than I needed here, but because it has the bow in it, I wanted to make sure that I could kind of fill that in with some glue. I'm not sure why I'm putting glue on the edges there. All right. All right, so I just let that dry and call it good. And I'm not sure if I should put lacquer on the base or just leave it raw so that she can smell that cherry wood whenever she wants. Scratch and sniff. What do you guys think? All right. Okay. Well, I think that's going to be it for me. I'll let that glue dry. And then once it's a little bit dried, then I'll come in and chisel off the excess. And, oh, and then maybe maybe I will apply some lacquer finish to it. Maybe not. We'll see. But I think I'm going to dab off a little of that glue. All right. Before it adheres to the workbench. All right. That should be good. All right. Thanks everybody for joining me today. Hope you have a wonderful Saturday. Just as a recap, put the base on the flower and made a bunch of little arcs for our discussion about Noah and the Ark in Sunday school. Oh. There we go. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.